And we're going to go there today, guys. I got time. No tennis after dark tonight because I got time right now. We're going to talk about the match. We're going to talk about the post-match press conference. We are going to talk about the call, okay? And look, there's a lot of messages coming in. I appreciate you guys for all the love and support, but I'm getting a lot of messages that are just, they're kind of ridiculous. And, you know, one message came in. There's several hundred messages. I can't respond to them all, but the ones that come in, if I happen to be glancing at the screen, I'll respond. Some of them I'm just not going to respond, but I am not going to debate or argue who is the most popular recognized face on the professional women's tennis circuit today. I'm not going to argue that, okay? Of all active female WTA players, Coco is by far the most recognized player in the world, okay? And if Iga says it herself that she walks around in Europe, outside of Poland, all over the world, and no one recognizes her. She said in the USA she walks around, no one recognizes her, okay? She said in Europe she walks around, no one recognizes her. She said she lives a very comfortable life, and she's grateful for that because she wants to keep it that way. Coco cannot walk around without being bombarded. I've seen police, fire, extra security have to be called in because she will shut it down with people going crazy. Lines wrapped around the wazoo. Coco is, everyone recognizes Coco. And, you know, tennis is a global sport. The tour's in a different country literally every week. Coco is loved. I've gone to these matches. Everyone loves Coco. The only thing is we live in a society where everyone gets online. It's like all the grumpy negative people come online to say, and it's not an accurate reflection of how things are. I go to the matches. Coco is by far the most loved player. And look at her peers. They all say nothing but classy things. For Iga to get on her press conference today and say just so many beautiful things about Coco. Beautiful words, Iga. We love that out of you. Keep that up. That was beautiful. Just reminding people, Coco's by far the most consistent, one of the best players on tour. She's ranked number 2. If you've been number 1 or number 2 in anything, and we all know Coco as a junior was number 1. I say it all the time, and if you don't have the integrity or honesty within yourself, then that's a you problem, you know. That's not a us problem. That's a you problem. There's no other player on this current tour that's more accomplished from 13 to 19 as a teenager, right? We all know Coco's made multiple slam finals, multiple WTA finals, singles and doubles as a teenager. She has the most wins at master events as a teenager. Coco has so many records. I actually started to name them once in a video. I got tired. There's so many. Right? She's very accomplished. If you've ever been number 1 or number 2 at anything, you know it takes a lot of skill, a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. But this kind of magnifies how popular she is. She gets more criticism when she loses and wins than anyone else. Where does that come from? I think it says a lot about our society as a whole. It says a lot about our society that someone can be one of the best in their sport, own the head-to-head of the top 4, own the head-to-head of 2 of them, excluding herself, and still get criticized so much. I mean, it says a lot about our society. You know, when the numbers show she's been the best returner in the game the last couple of years, right? The numbers show Sabalenka, Rybakina, and Coco, in terms of wins and losses, they're all plus or minus 1, 2, 3. Championships, all plus or minus 1 or 2. The consistency that Coco has shown, being much younger than all of them, it says a lot about our society because it's people that do it on the internet. It's not real life. I see what happens in real life. She's by far the most popular player and loved, which shows she's the highest female earner last year. Now, Caitlin Clark's probably going to change that because she signed a huge, nearly $28 million deal with Nike, so she'll probably be the top earner next year. But listen, I think Coco could shut down Caitlin Clark if she played basketball. Her defense is so good. You know, we can't deny these things, and I think people, I don't know, it's just they're not having honest conversations with themselves. You know, how good Coco is. We take a look at the head-to-head between Iga. It's lopsided, it is. But I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And I'm going to tell you my thoughts of that. And I'm going to tell you what I think. why I think she's struggling with Iga. And but first, let's take a look at the call here. So this call here, Coco got very emotional. Now I did a video earlier. If you don't, and this is the problem, if you guys don't watch tennis, some of the things I say, you're gonna think a lot of it is my opinion. When I do my videos, I do give my opinion. And look, with the amount of tennis that I watch and play, it's a pretty solid opinion, and everyone's entitled to their own. But just understand, if you want to criticize my opinion and then I actually relay facts and you realize it's not actually my opinion, it's a fact, don't get upset. Because a lot of times, if you got to understand, a lot of people, they're not watching as much tennis as myself, so they don't hear the conversations and the things I hear. So when I say it, they might think it's ridiculous until they realize that it's actually true, And then again, the society we live in, you don't expect people to apologize. They just be rude and just keep it moving. But the reality here is, Coco, by far, all of the professionals, former players, announcers, including myself, the consensus is by far she has the best defense on tour and the best footwork. That's not a doubt. Now, tennis is a type of sport, in case you don't know, there's different surfaces. There's clay, there's grass, there's hard, there's outdoor hard, there's indoor hard. Do you guys know which surface is the fastest? Do you know which surface is the slowest? All right. Depending on the surface, that can affect your play and your style of game. When it comes to clay, the consensus is clear that Iga Swiatek's the best clay player in the game. But Coco's also pretty good. In case you don't know, she won the Junior French Open. A lot of people don't even know this kind of stuff. Iga did not. So somewhere between juniors and the pros, I'd say probably around, in particular, 19 to 21, or let's say 18 to 20, Iga put in the work and got really, really good. I watch her games. Like, her game literally just changed overnight. And I say that's exactly what happened. It changed overnight. So to not acknowledge that Coco is a junior French Open champion, she's also a runner-up here in France. She's actually made the quarterfinals at least 4 straight times here in France. Rybakina hasn't done that. Sabalenka hasn't done that, including a final appearance. Guys, Coco's really, really good. And the reason why I say she's the future of tennis is because from the age 13 to 19, she's had the best career of anyone on tour. If that's not an indication of the future, then what is? She just turned 20. What are we talking about, guys? Okay. So in case you're not familiar, not every player on tour is the same age. They're different ages, which means there's different growth periods. I've talked about how Coco's still growing into her adult body. She just turned 20. There's scientific data, there's medical data that shows women still grow up to 21 years old, right? So she's working things out. And then this particular play here, watching the intro to the match, I knew there would be something to where this French umpire, which is kind of still the show, something told me something was going to happen with the chair umpire. I knew it. I do think that the sport happens so fast. We're talking about a millisecond where, the player has to react, the chair umpire is watching. There's room for error. And you normally don't see Coco, lash out here at the chair umpire. She did at the U.S. Open after the 6th time, right? She did with Pierre after the 4th time. Here, she said in the press conference that it was a combination of losing the first set, being frustrated. And every match, every point matters, especially when you're playing Iga, who's so good. Every match, every point matters. And she said, yeah, she definitely got emotional because of that, combined with the fact she was losing, or she was down a set. She was actually on serve up 2-1, and here she would actually end up breaking. So she said, yeah, it didn't really matter. But whether the chair umpire was right or wrong, it really was too close to call. It really was too close to call. And a lot of times when you're the player, you're focused on the ball. And the focus that tennis players have, it's just so insane. And I can tell you that myself, that she's hearing the chair umpire make the call while she's actually in motion. So I kind of would side with Coco, because it looked like Coco was right. And she normally does not say anything. She holds it in. I've talked about how she's held things in for so long. And a lot of these ladies, amazing ladies, are coached by their fathers. A lot of them don't get the proper credit they deserve. But a lot of times when you're coaching your daughter, a lot of times you kind of shelter your daughter, and you kind of make an environment to where you're handling all that external stuff, and you're sheltering them and you're protecting them. And that kind of creates a situation where a lot of times the ladies, they can be a little bit more emotional because they're used to, and Corey, father, he doesn't actually, he walks the track a lot now. He doesn't really, sit in the box as much. I would love to see him do so, but it's a tough situation here because Coco, she's down. She feels she was robbed a point. And I thought at minimum, the chair umpire went over the top with the call. I just thought it was a little bit too much, stealing the show. But nonetheless, it didn't matter. She held on. And in my personal opinion, watching Sabalenka smash rackets and break microphones and just throw a angrily fit, every match for years, watching Elena Ostapenko hit ball kids, throw rackets into stands, throw balls, yell at her camp, Sabalenka curse her camp, literally almost fire her camp on national television. Watching all this stuff over the years, to see Coco cry and just argue a call, it's nothing. It happens in the sport. And if anyone's ever competed, once your adrenaline's flowing, if you feel you're right, you're going to react. It's a natural thing. And I feel she needs to release more of this tension because she holds it in. Now, she said here that she feels she's getting better against Iga. Iga is by far the best clay mover. She's the best clay player in the WTA. Nearly a 100% win rate the last couple seasons on clay. She's amazing on clay, right? Back-to-back Madrid, Rome. And she's going to have her hands full with Polini. I'm going to talk about that match a little bit later. But what do I think happened in this match? Here's what I think. When you're a player and you have a coach and you're trying to implement new things, what happens a lot is you really try to focus on the game plan. Now, whether the game plan was the right one or not, you'll normally find that out after the match. So this is what Monday morning quarterback, so to speak. But a lot of times, let's refer to Mira yesterday. You guys watched when Mira defeated Sabalenka. Mira said, I had a game plan from my coach, but, I forgot it. She didn't remember it. So what happened was she was playing off of her instinct, right? And this is a question for those that have competed and play sports. When you're focusing too much on a game plan, it can take away your strengths. And again, this is all things constant. If you're focusing too much on X's and O's, you find yourself sometimes not being able to find a rhythm within the game, right? Which is why I say it all the time. In professional sports, the greatest things happen when time is running out. The greatest comebacks happen when the other opponent is down, facing match point, trying to save match point. The greatest comebacks happen in sport when time is running out and you have nothing to lose. Why? Because you're not running X's and O's. You're playing off of instinct, will, and passion. This particular match here, this is just my opinion. I saw some things that worked from the game plan. The aggressiveness, the 27 winners to 10. Iga, if you watch this match, she played a very safe match. This was one of those matches where, because I watched the interview last time when they played in, what was that? Madrid, right? I watched the interview when they played in, or Rome, whatever. So I watched the interview where they played, and Iga was like, yeah, Coco she's getting really good. She said early in their matchup, she could crack against her very easily. She's like, now Coco is really, really returning with firepower, and she notices the level is improving. She's getting better. This is one of those matchups where I see the X's and O's worked with her being aggressive. And I said it. She's got to take a page from Rebekina Sabalenka and Jelena Ostapenko's book. She did that on the first serve. Why? Because she won 36%, or rather, she won, 36% of Iga's first serve return points. 36%. Iga only won 31% of Coco's first serve return points for most of the match, right? That's a big, or actually it was even lower than that. It's about 28%. So she literally had a lift of over, 25% on that first serve return. So she was aggressive on the first serve return. That's a win. Now, if we take a look at the unforced errors, 39-14. Iga played pretty safe to me. Now, watching this match, I could tell that Iga, she wanted to go to the forehand. She continued to go back to the forehand, and she went there effortlessly. She went there pretty safe. And it seemed to me like Iga's game plan was, look, you improved, show me you improve, show me you can beat me. She really put it on Coco's racket, and a lot of those mistakes happened where Coco upped the ante. Maybe she pulled the trigger at maybe the wrong times where she could have waited another shot or two and pulled the trigger. And a lot of those mistakes happened. A lot of them did come on the forehand side. But this is a case where where you're focusing too much on the game plan and you're not focusing on your natural ability. If I were coaching Coco, I would like to go out there with a game plan, a simple one the next time they play, just to see how we do. And say, just play free. I don't want you to think of any game plan. Just play free, play your game, right? Because we see Coco play these amazing matches where she's winning 94% of her first serves, 85% of her first serves, 92% of her first serves. She's playing carefree. I would like to see Coco go out and play Iga next time, and coaches say, Brad Gilbert to say, just play. I don't want you to focus on anything. Just play your game. And see how that happens, right? Because anyone that's ever played at a high level, and you're number 2 or number 1 in the world, you're good. You know the sport. You're a professional. You've been doing it for so long. Find your rhythm in the game and just play and have fun. I would love to see how Coco would respond to a coaching strategy like that versus Iga. I think she would do well. And the reason I say that is if we go back to Cincinnati, that's the most carefree I've ever seen Coco play Iga. She was playing off, and it was hard. It was outdoor hard. We do have to admit that, where Coco's speed was able to shine a lot more, right? But I would love to see in these U.S. courts. I mean, she grew up playing on U.S. hard. But I would just love to see the game plan. Just go out and play and have fun, right? I don't want you thinking too much, because it seems now, a lot of these matches, Iga's living rent free in her head. It's mental. We know Coco's talented, but I say it all the time. If you've ever played in front of thousands or even hundreds of fans and you get nervous, you're gonna make mistakes. I've done it myself. I'm like, how did this player beat me? We're better than them. I'll tell you a story about a team. We played a team in the playoffs, and this is basketball, not tennis. We beat this team by 40-something points. I wouldn't say like 40. I want to say it was 43 points. Something like, it was bad, right? Beat them very bad. We ended up playing them. That was the regular season. We ended up playing them in the championship match. We just beat them by 43 points. Not even a couple weeks ago. Had destroyed them, right? Now we're in a packed stadium, packed crowd. We end up losing that match, right? We possibly underestimated them a bit, but I got a little nervous there. In those tough situations, I got a little nervous. I made mistakes I shouldn't have. And I just want to see Coco play without the mental frustration. And I think just the head-to-head being so lopsided, it's kind of causing her to put more pressure on her that is not really warranted. I mean, if Iga has dominated you in the past, you should go into these matches with nothing to lose. Like Mira at 17 playing these adult women. Coco, she shouldn't put so much pressure on herself. I know she has big goals, and it's going to happen because Iga's not going to be dominant forever. She's going to slow down, and I think Coco has the better upside, which is why I say she's the future of tennis. And a lot of people, they can't fathom that statement. They think it's like ridiculous or something because they don't really follow Coco. You know, because Coco gets a lot of press that's from, and I said it's from journalists trying to make a name. They're trying to make a story. They don't care what they write. They just want money, you know? And I say it all the time. I don't do this channel for money. I do it to bring people to the level of the sport, but we also bring facts. A lot of the numbers and stuff I give you facts from the score sheet. I'm giving you all facts, all statistics. That's fair use reporting. I have to. right? It's all facts. So when I tell you how amazing she is, it's because it's facts. The stuff she's done, right? You don't get to be number 2 in the world. The rankings is based on winning matches. They don't give out rankings. And we all know because Coco's such a huge cash cow, she's so popular, they've been putting her up against these tough players since a young age. You guys don't even realize she had Serena and Venus in her draw at 15. Like, people don't realize. So look how many times Iga's been in her draw and Simona Halep, because she's a cash cow. She's going to bring the endorsements and the sponsors. So she has a lot more pressure on her because she's so good and popular. People don't understand that, right? This is why she's faced so many of the top 10 at an early age. She's played Ons, for crying out loud, 7 times. She's played Sabalenka 7 times. Owns a head-to-head against both of them, you know? And I'm surprised. Look, we need that Rebecca match, guys, so we can settle this score once and for all. But nonetheless, I would like to see Coco play Iga carefree and just to see how she responds with her natural instincts. Because I feel she's thinking too much is taking away her strengths. Coco's the fastest player on tour, and if you don't watch tennis, you may be confused. You haven't seen Coco return a drop shot after falling down on the ground multiple times. You haven't seen Coco return drop shots this French Open 8 to 10 feet behind the baseline. You haven't seen it because you don't watch her matches. You only read the headlines from the guys. These are biased media outlets in Eastern Europe. This is exactly what they are. You guys don't realize that, right? We don't have Western media reporting on Coco like that. We do not. Most of the media from tennis is coming from the eastern part of the world. You guys don't even understand that because you don't really watch tennis. Okay, look who calls the matches. You can't find Americans. You might find one American on the tennis network calling a match, but that's it. There's not Americans calling these matches. So a lot of people don't realize how popular she is. She's going into uncharted territories and people love her. I've seen Coco shut down arenas and stadiums because so many people love her. She's loved worldwide. I showed you the clips of how she's bombarded after these matches, you know? So, but nonetheless, look, we love all the ladies in the sport. We love Coco. We love Iga. Iga's amazing. And I've said it time and time again before the Polish fans even came online. They weren't backing Iga, you know? But now they are because we live in a bandwagon society where you start doing good. Now people want to know you. They want to like you. You wasn't with me shooting in the gym. I was alone doing that, you know? But again, I do think today's struggles with Coco, she was a little too focused on the game plan. You know, sometimes you just got to use your experience. Confidence is experience. In some of these situations, it looked like she wanted to just trust in her coach. And you got to do what Mira said. Look, I don't remember the game plan. I'm just playing on instinct. If she plays with her instinct, she's going to beat 9 out of 10 players on tour. That one player is probably going to be Iga. But eventually, I do see the head-to-head. I mean, depending how much longer they play, I mean, I don't know if for the rest of their careers they're going to play another 12 times. I probably doubt it. I mean, if they play another, let's say they play another 10 times over the course of the next 10 seasons, I do see the head-to-head starting to favor Coco for sure, because as she gets stronger, more mature, she's going to do better. But I would like to see her camp really sit down at a round table. And look, I don't know if they do it. It's possible they're doing it now, but she's going to have some time to take a break between now and grass season. But grass, very fast surface. We're going to see Coco's strengths. Iga doesn't do well at Wimbledon because it's a faster surface. And I don't think people realize how surfaces play a big impact on their game. But sit down with their camp and just really break this down on what's happening. And I think they're going to realize that a lot of it's not really what Iga's doing. It's what Coco's possibly doing mentally to herself. You know, I think a lot of this, she's putting too much pressure on herself. She has to get back to having fun. And this is why I liked Reba in her camp. Reba was smiling. He would pump her up. And not that they're not doing that now, but I think Reba was a really good cheerleader. And I said that I think he was a really good cheerleader. Your players, when you're a coach and you're mentoring people, a lot of that is reminding them how great they are, right? It's not like you're really, changing how they play. They're already great. You're just pointing out little things they can do here or there and reminding them to stay confident in their abilities. That's really what coaching is about. They are the special one. They're the talented one. It's reminding them in these situations that they have what it takes. And Iga and Coco, they both have what it takes. Jasmine Polini, Iga Swiatek, who's going to win that match? I think Jasmine is going to present possibly more issues for Iga than Coco because of her short center of gravity. Now Iga's got to change the trajectory on her balls. And how fast Jasmine does play on clay. Jasmine's got, 250 wins on clay. Coco doesn't have that. Jasmine's a much more experienced clay player. She slides well on clay, but her speed actually transitions well on clay as well. Whereas Coco clay to hard, night and day. Coco's super duper fast on hard. She's fast on clay, chasing these drop shots down from 8 feet behind the baseline. She's really fast on clay. But Jasmine, I think, is going to present some different challenges for Iga. And Iga said in her press conference that she's played her a couple years ago, but she's a different player now because she's winning and she's doing a lot better. So obviously they're going to have to, figure out that game plan. Stay tuned for that video. That's coming up next, guys. Tennis in a minute. Thanks for love and support. And thank you, the haters. Look, the reality is if you comment, it helps, But again, I don't do this for money. I don't do this for attention. If you do comment, it does help. But hey, just be fair with the comments. We'll be back, guys.